I'm Sandra, and I'm just the professional your small business was looking for. But you didn't hire me because you didn't use LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn has professionals you can't find anywhere else, including those who aren't actively looking for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role, like me.
In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you'll miss out on great candidates like Sandra. Start hiring professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/spoken today.
Well, morning now, and welcome to another adventure, another episode of My Life, Pain and Glory, and quite fitting today because the topic is Jack Grealish. It was going to be the week that was, but it turned out to be, unfortunately, the week that wasn't.
Yeah, once again, with no surprise, we did the podcast with Don Shanks and John Sitton last week. We spoke about Jack against Wales and why he never played against Belgium, and I predicted that. And I predicted he wouldn't play against Denmark either. And it's ironic that the difference between the two teams was another player that I mentioned in the podcast was Spurs letting Ericsson go, letting their best player go, and Jack was the only player really can be compared to someone like Ericsson. You got that little bit of finesse and that extra little bit of magic that we lack. And obviously, I read in one on the Sporting Life site in the week, we lack creativity, which basically that is that in a nutshell. Jack has a creativity that we haven't, we've lacked for so long over the years, and it seems that Southgate's just going to go down the same path as all the others, the Turnips and the Swedes and the Wally with a Brolly and all this. He'll be named pretty soon, I've no doubt, with a name like that. He's not winning many fans when it comes to entertainment value.
He certainly isn't. Now, is it personal? Is it stupidity? Or is he just a liar? Now, I'll look at the first one. Sunday, I was with the old man, staunch Birmingham City fan, but loves Jack Grealish like I do. Yeah. And he says to me, he ain't giving Southgate's missus one, is he, Nip? How does Jack Grealish not get into that England team? I said, Dad, I don't know. It's either got to be something personal or he's stupid, because we saw against Wales what Jack can do at international level. You have already said on podcasts, Jack was a born international football player. Now, Gareth Southgate has gone on record many times and has said he needs to be playing championship football before I'll call him up to the national team. He already had for Aston Villa when they got relegated. He then has said he needs to play against top-level opposition. He did against Liverpool and almost single-handedly destroyed them. He made arguably the best defender on the planet look like an idiot. Now, what is going on with Southgate?
Well, I think you've hit it on the head in one. What is going on with him? It's almost as if the idiots at the FA have say to England managers, look, we don't want creative players. We don't want players like that. We want robots. We've become just such a robotic nation, and we've been that way. I said to Don yesterday, and I said, what you got to do? You got to put yourself in Jack's place, and I had it. And was several other players that had it of my time. When you see lesser players playing in your position, and you think, what have I got to do to get a game? And average players as well. And I've seen so many average players in an England shirt, and you see them get 45, 50 caps. And I said years ago about, I remember saying something about Peter Shilton. He got 100, and he's a record cap holder or something, 120 odd caps or something. And I said, what would worry me if I had 120 caps is I've got a granddaughter, and if I give her my England cap, and I got photos with my England cap on. And she sat on my knee one day and she asked me, what did I ever win? And I said, nothing. I would be a little bit embarrassed, you know. And I think that's the way you've got to look at it. You know, it's all right saying these players, I got so many caps, I got this, but what on earth what did you achieve? You know, it's not even, you know, it's not as if you're playing for someone like Poland or Switzerland or Austria. You know, you're playing for a team that won the World Cup in '66. We're supposed to have invented the game, and we've gone backwards ever since. You know, since 1970, I can remember in 1970 after watching England put on better performances than what they actually did in '66 against Brazil and West Germany for a long part of the game. And I can remember saying to my pal, I promise you, saying England will never win the World Cup again. And I didn't even mention the European Championships. But and then they get a result against Belgium, an undeserved result in my eyes. So I don't think they were the better team. In such a stupid competition, a competition that shouldn't be allowed in the game, in my eyes. You know, we got a pandemic and we're adding extra matches that puts, you know, all these matches that they say we can't have people in the crowd and in the ground and everything else, and we're adding on competitions that really are actually so of no importance whatsoever. You know, I remember years ago when we knocked the home international on the head.
Yep.
You know, I thought, well, why are we doing this? You know, we got 5 nations here. It's a perfect vehicle to have a look at young players, have a look at up and coming players, without going abroad and without the travel, and you could have a look at them and give them the experience of playing at Wembley or Hampden or whatever, or Cardiff Arms Park, wherever they play. You know, the home international was a great vehicle, but it just seems that once again it's all down to, I know there's no crowd, so the money thing, but it's all about money again, and TV, you know, this and then this TV thing jumps up and bites you again, you know, the £15 or what's the games you see. Everything is just revolves around money, and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. And I'm just pleased that Jack Grealish is, you know, he's earning a lot of money at the moment, and he can and live well. Because if he was playing on the wages that we earn and weren't playing for England, it'd be, I think he could go into a state of depression. And that happened to me, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. You're right, because as a player, it must really wrangle with you when you see that you're not playing, or in many instances, in many squads, you wasn't even picked. You were overlooked. You were banned by Ramsey. You were overlooked by Don Revie. And while you was banned by Ramsey, George wrote you that little note saying that just carry on, play your football, and pretty much show them what you're missing. Now,
well, he actually said, I've got it up for my wall. He just said, just ram it down their throats where it hurts, and that's on the field. And, you know, I can remember thinking, I was lucky in many ways. The great consolation for me was that I'd been through my bad patch at Chelsea. I'd played abysmal at the end of my Chelsea days, and I'd have carried on that way, I'd have had no qualms, no complaints about not getting picked for England, because I didn't deserve it, because I wasn't playing well enough. Yeah. But when I started playing at Stoke and really hit top form, and I was back at playing better than ever, like Jack is at Villa, it's I thought to myself, well, I'm playing for a manager that I adore. I'd run the extra mile for him. I'll run through brick walls for him, and I'll do anything for him. Just concentrate playing for the people you want to play for. What Dean Smith has done for Jack has been remarkable, really. He pulled a rabbit out of the hat, but a lot of managers wouldn't have made him captain. They'd have messed him about. And I always remember Dave Saxon saying to me, put 6 international caps on my desk and you can come in and start telling me how much a week you want, over 25 quid. And I thought, Well, I'm not. You don't pay me for playing for England. You pay me for what I do for my club. Now, you imagine Jack going in after beating Liverpool 7-2, and they've had the best start they've had for many a year, and he goes in and he asks for, all right, he might say his contract was up and he had to go and renew his contract. He said, well, I've proved against the European champions of 2 years ago and the Premier League winners, I've proved my worth. You know, what more do you want? And Dean Smith says, well, you know, put 6 international caps. Well, he can turn around and say, well, he won't give me 6 international caps, so I'm going to be on the same money for the rest of my life. What's going on? You pay me for what I do for your club. You pay me for what I do for the Aston Villa supporters. The Aston Villa supporters don't care how I play for England. They care how I play for them. They come through the gates every week at Villa Park to see me play for Aston Villa. They're not particularly worried how I do in an England shirt. They want me to do well, yeah, because I'm an Aston Villa player. But they're more concerned. Tony Waddington was concerned. He wanted me to play for England because he loves Stoke players to get recognition. He didn't just want me to play for England. He wanted all his players to get recognition. And Dean Smith will be the same. You know, it's something to be proud of for your club to have 2 or 3 England players in the squad. And that means that they're doing it for your club. But Dean Smith, you know, if he was the England manager now, Dean Smith, Jack would be captain of England and playing every week, and he'd build a team around him. That's different. That's the difference between international football. If you haven't got a manager that likes you, you've got no chance. And it doesn't matter how good you are, you just won't get picked.
I think you could say that if almost any other person apart from Gareth Southgate was the England manager, Jack Grealish would get picked. I'm also guessing that the likes of Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Jadon Sancho, all our forward players would also love Jack Grealish to play in that midfield area, because the supply that we're getting is poor. Our midfield for England has been poor for an age. Until we get that creativity, we won't go anywhere. They must be crying out for Jack as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you hit it on the head. Look at Lewin. He'll never score an easy goal than what he did when Jack clipped that ball into him. Yeah. He's the only player that could actually put it on a plate for you. All the others just cross the ball. They don't look where they cross it. He just sent the geezer the wrong way, and he just one little glance and he put it straight on his head. And there ain't nobody else can do that. And as you say, other players will go, you know, why are you leaving the most creative player in the country out? I want someone to provide goals for me, set up chances for me, and it ain't going to happen. I mean, Don Shanks, you know, he says we all agree that Southgate ain't not the man for the job, and he said, well, Eddie Howe, and I've been saying about Eddie Howe, you know, since Arsenal wanted him about 6-7 years ago to replace Wenger, and Jack would be the first player on the team sheet if Eddie Howe was manager of England. He would build a team around him because he loves footballers. It seems that England managers don't love footballers. It's only in this country. It's like in Holland, if they'd leaving Johan Cruyff out. I'm not saying that he's as good as Cruyff because he was the greatest I've ever seen. But it's like Argentina leaving Messi out and Maradona, and Spain leaving Iniesta out and people like that, and David Silva. And why you don't leave your best players out? But he seems he wants to ruin this kid, you know, and it doesn't. You know, he's as I say, he's very, very fortunate. He's got a manager that will. I'm sure he goes in training and he calls him in the office and he has a private word with him and says, "Look, don't worry about it. You worry about what you do for us and enjoy your football. Keep playing well. Worry about your form with us. If they don't want to pick you, it's just out of your hands. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't lose no sleep about it. Just keep playing. The fans here love you. What more do you want? You're an Aston Villa fan yourself. Just keep on playing and don't worry about England." You know, I bet he's had more than one person say just retire from international football and like I should have done with Revy. I should have said, well, don't bother picking me no more after the German game. I just don't want to play for England. I don't want to play for you. You don't like me. It's like a marriage. If you're not getting on with your wife, get another one. Or walk away. Walk away. If you're not happy in a relationship, walk away. And he can't be happy. He must feel a little bit when he turns up for the England squad, a little bit left out. To be put on the bench again and inferior players brought on in front of you, you must think, what are you trying to do to me? It's soul destroying.
In many ways, Al, if we had the week reversed and Jack had played against Leicester, as he's playing against Leicester tonight, and playing against Liverpool this evening, if he put that worldie performance in against Liverpool, destroyed one of the greatest teams in the world, that would surely, with the week that he's endured and the time that he's endured with Southgate, that arguably would be the ideal time to announce his retirement. The press would go ballistic. Ball in Southgate's court. Southgate has got questions to answer, and if you don't, you're sacked.
Well, absolutely. I think he should. I really think he should. We said a couple of weeks ago when he was left out the squad originally, and he got brought in because a couple of players dropped out. Should he not go? Should he say I'm not going? No, but no. Play and prove that you can do it first, like I did against the Germans. Prove that you can play at that level, then walk away. And you can't. But if he'd have walked away then without putting in a performance, and that performance against Liverpool, if he'd have walked away before that, they'd have gone, well, what right have you got to walk away? You haven't even played yet.
Yep.
And he can turn around and say, well, I'm 25. I'll be tripping over my beard by the time I get picked here. I'll be, what do you want? You want me to be 30, 32 and play me? What's going on? He's 25, this kid. He's not 17, 18. And Pele played in the World Cup when he was 16.
Yep.
It just makes a mockery of England management and the people at the FA. They need to be looked at as well and think, why do you keep having managers that can't see this? Why don't you pick a manager who wants to build a football team? The fellow, in the Premier League, the fellow at Everton's doing it. Ancelotti's got so much experience with great players and teams all over Europe, and he's building a team. And you can see that his players, all right, Liverpool were the better team yesterday, but you can see the difference in his team, how he's picked them up and he's played. I always say that a manager's job is to make bad players average players good players great players, and great players get them right to the top of their game, and that is good management. But you don't knock good players down, and that's what he's doing. It's unthinkable what he's doing. And I called the shots the other day when, John Sitton said, he'll play against Denmark. Now the pressure's off, they beat Belgium. He'll play against Denmark. I said, he won't pick him, mate. He will go back and he'll pick players that we're going to go out there and he'll be settled to get a bore draw. And he's a boring manager, and he's like most other managers. And you get boring players and you pick robotic players, and you're going to come up with boring results. And in the end, he get the sack, and he won't know why he's got the sack.
Yep, pretty much, yeah. And you're absolutely right, because we spoke on the Wednesday before the Denmark game, and you said exactly, there's no way he's going to play him. Talking of Everton, Villa have got a player who used to play for Everton. He had that move to one of your former clubs, Chelsea, Ross Barkley. 46 years ago, a young lad from Chelsea made the trip up north and changed the fortunes of Stoke City. Can Ross Barkley form a similar partnership with Jack Grealish, with Douglas Luiz, with John McGinn, and make Aston Villa, that quartet, the most competent midfield in the Premier League?
Well, the jury's still out about young Barkley. Yeah. Everton, I thought he was. When I first see him, I thought he was going to go, and he's the nearest thing I'd seen to Gascoigne. The way he used to go past people, he was confident. He's a big, strong boy. I thought he was going to go right to the very top, and I don't know where it all went wrong. He's never looked the same player at Chelsea. Might be overwhelmed. I don't know. Chelsea are in transition, but he's been there long enough.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot. We charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month slows. Full terms at mintmobile.com.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
What you're hearing are the sounds of people everywhere putting on Bombas socks, underwear, and T-shirts made from absurdly soft materials that feel like plush clouds. Yeah, that plush. And the best part? For every item you purchase, Bombas donates another to someone facing homelessness.
Bombas. Big comfort for everyone. Go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/ACAST. Code ACAST.
He seemed to have lost. He reminds me of a player like myself when I lost my confidence and I was out injured and playing with an injury, and I thought, is he carrying injury? Why is he he's gone backwards? He's passing the ball backwards where he used to go past people. That is his strength. He has. I think the manager will make a big difference with him, and he'll have to play second fiddle to Jack, but that's good. That's maybe a good thing, because playing with Jack will remind him how good he could be.
Yep.
Because Jack has got that wonderful ability to, he's nonchalant. He plays with his socks down, and he's got that great quality. And it'll only rub off on Barkley, and it proved that when he played the other day with him, and now they're talking about them making a good partnership, and he's going to have to. I think he's kind of made a new role for himself where he's going to have to do the donkey work for Jack, but he can do it with a little bit. He has still got a little bit of class, the kid. You don't lose the ability overnight. It's something wrong with your makeup, but he as you say, he might just fit in, and he looks at. I always say that a happy player is a good player, and he looks a lot happier when he played the other day for Villa than he did for Chelsea.
That was exactly. I've just written down, Al, smile. I haven't seen Ross Barkley play with a smile on his face for years. Now, apparently, Jack's been hammering him on social media or on his texts or emails. I don't know how he's been getting in contact with him, but for about 3 weeks, come to Villa to play with me. So, again, going back to what we were saying, players like certain players to play with because they know that A, they can bring out the best in them, and B, it works the other way. And I think an ideal partnership for me in the making.
Yeah, I think he's obviously, that's a good thing as well about going to, he joined the international squad, and although he never got picked for a while, I can remember going into a couple of squads with Revy and no, I'm not going to get picked, but in five-a-sides enjoyed playing with certain players and think, if only I could play with them at club level. Yep. And I played in a five-a-side one day, and Revy picked all his boys to play us, and me and Bally had been out the night before, and we absolutely toyed with them. And I think our five-a-side was me, Alan Ball, Tony Curry, and Frank Worthington, and I don't think we needed a goalkeeper. It was embarrassing, and we were just knocking it to one another. Now, that's when you come back to your club and you say to your manager, you tell your manager and say, "Oh, mate," and I had the manager like Waddington who would snap them all up if he could, if he had the finance, and they would have come to Stoke, but obviously Jack has done that with Barkley. He's played in a five-a-side with him, and they've hit it off, and that can only be the start of a beautiful friendship, really.
Imagine if you included Stan Bowles there in that five and played last man back, arguably the greatest five-a-side team in the history of playing football, wouldn't it? What players?
Well, it's just five. That's what five. We was watching the Liverpool yesterday, and they played a little bit of football. They in the box, really one touch in the box, and it was great to watch. And I love Mane. And Don went, "Cole, how good was that?" And I went, "They're a five-a-side team, Don."
Yeah. Yeah.
They just play. You can tell they play a lot of five-a-side, and that don't happen by not playing five-a-side. They play a lot of five-a-sides, and that is why Mane, Salah, and Robinho, whatever his name is, the Brazilian. That's why they're so good together. You know, they play a lot of five-a-sides, and them three, you know, it's a bit like what me and Greenoff. You know, they at times they look like they're telepathic.
As you've always said, Al, football and building a football team is like a jigsaw puzzle, and Barkley could just be another piece of that jigsaw puzzle, because it's not right yet. There's improvements to be made at Aston Villa, but they're on the right lines, aren't they?
I mean, when you say there's improvements to be made, I mean they escaped relegation by the skin of their teeth last year.
Oh yeah,
and here they are, you know, only 10 days away from beating the champions 7-2. Now that was a result that could never be seen, and if someone would have told you that the day before and said, would you take 10 grand for a draw against Villa, or would you take £1 million for a 7-2 win, and you just took the 10 grand?
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way they could beat them 7-2, and yet they destroyed them. So, I mean, what a start to the season! What a way to start building your team, you know.
Oh, absolutely. But I think, Dean Smith, since we come back from the lockdown, and we did a podcast pretty much a couple of days before lockdown, because Villa played Sheffield United, and you were talking about how much you was looking forward to watching Jack Grealish. I think since it, Dean Smith has developed his defence. They're not leaking goals, so he's got pretty much a settled back four. He's got a decent goalkeeper in now from one of your former clubs, Arsenal. His midfield, he's got McGinn, who's back from injury, and Douglas Luiz, with now Ross Barkley and Jack Grealish. He's got Watkins, and he's just looking, I think, for another goal scorer, and I think that could be the final piece to Dean Smith's jigsaw.
So the thing about your defence as well, Paul, when you look at defenders, and when you say that you improve your defence, you improve your defence by getting better midfield players who can keep hold of the ball and not keep losing the ball and keep putting your defence under a lot of pressure. When I went to Stoke, we had the same defence who were third from bottom, who ended up fifth from top. Only I was playing, and we were keeping the ball a lot better, and we were keeping the ball away from the opposition, and they weren't getting attacked like they were getting attacked before, because they kept giving the ball away. Now Villa are not giving the ball away in the last third and around the halfway line. Last season, half the goals they conceded was just through sheer terrible play in midfield, giving the ball away in positions where they shouldn't be losing the ball. Now they're playing proper football in midfield, and they're not putting their defenders under pressure so much, and their defenders are now can actually not only join in, but don't have to keep worrying about when they got the ball. They're going to come back at us in a minute. They can have a little rest. You know, they must have been thinking, what last week? What's going on here when the goals were going in? Oh, thank God it's up there, because we're so used to it at our end, you know. And that's all because he's got a better Dean Smith has got a better understanding of the game, and he realizes that his team, if they with people like Grealish and they keep getting the ball to him and playing off him and around him, that it's taking pressure off your defence all the time. And that's what Waddington was so good at. He knew if he had good forward players, it would take all the pressure off people at the back. Our defence at Stoke, 2 or 3 of them were past their sell-by date. Dennis Smith played with a wonky knee for a long time. Jackie Marsh was going blind. Alan Blaw was really getting to a point where he had the dodgy hamstring. He was slowing up, and so what you do is he didn't throw him out of the team. He got better players to play forward, and it just took the pressure off of them. And as soon as they got the ball, they just knocked it into us, knowing it weren't going to come back at them. You know, it's just a manager having a better understanding of football.
It's not rocket science, Al. It's a simple
No.
game, complicated by idiots. And Dean
Yeah,
Smith is
yeah,
keeping it simple. Villa
yeah.
are benefiting from his philosophy in football. And as many managers said about you in your day, there's no limits to where this kid can go. And I think there's lots of parallels with you and with Jack Grealish. And I think the same could be said to Jack. There's no limits to what this lad can achieve in the game.
Well, yeah, the terrible thing about that comment is we'll never know now until he got a manager at international level who I mean, I've fallen out with Harry Redknapp a couple of times, but there's no doubt in my mind if Harry had become England manager, if I had become England manager, they say it's the hardest job in the world. It's not the hardest. Picking the best 11 players in the country is not the hardest job in the world. It's the easiest job in the world. It's only the hardest job in the world when you don't know the best 11 players. Yeah. Harry Redknapp would have made Jack Grealish captain. He would have given him the armband and said, well, you go out and play, and he built a team around him. Venables was doing the same thing in 1996. Again, it wasn't rocket science. He just picked the best players. He picked Teddy Sheringham, where a lot of players, managers wouldn't have him. You know, he picked young Jamie Redknapp. Jamie Redknapp was doing terrific for England before he got injured. I'm not saying he was in the same class as Jack, but Jamie was a good player. Yeah. Very, very good player. But that was Venables because he was a footballer himself. He knew about inside forwards. You know, Terry once said about me, you know, he done an introduction for the Working Man's Ballet, and he said when we played Chelsea in the FA Cup in the 6th round, he said I was playing for QPR. He said no, I thought I could put Hudson out off his game, you know, in the mud. He said, but after about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, he said I realised. He said I couldn't get near him. Yeah. You know, well, that's how you judge players. So Terry knew. Terry knew Terry was a good player. You know, a player that I loved as a kid, but he was just not up to that level. He couldn't do what Jack Grealish does, but he played at every level. I think he was the first player to play at every levels, from schoolboy international right up into international player. So Terry knows the football, and he was probably our best manager. You know, probably Robson was as good with, you know, but he didn't pick Gascoigne straight away. I think that was a little bit of a fluke. He had an injury problem and he put Gascoigne in. But apart from Venables and Robson, we haven't had Graham Taylor with Carlton Palmer and David Batty. I mean, come on, if we ain't got better players than that in this country, we might as well close Wembley down. Turn it back into a dog track or something, you know, have the grounds back there so people can be entertained, because of the trash we've had in the England team over the years. And it's on, as I've done the thing with Jim White, it's just history repeating itself again.
It certainly is. And as you finished on one of your recent blogs on your official Alan Hudson Facebook page, winners like the likes of Jordan Henderson and others that have won honours, European Cups, league titles, FA Cups, you know, we will forget. Over the midst of time, we will forget them. But players that didn't win an awful lot, like yourself, you didn't win an awful lot, Cup Winners' Cup and the FA Cup. Tony Curry didn't win very much. Stan Bowles didn't win very much. Frank Worthington, Rodney Marsh, all of those players that didn't win very much, we will always, always remember. And those players, I've always maintained this, if football was a religion, you guys were prophets.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned Jordan Henderson, and you know, and I say about a lot of players, you know, people say about Jordan Henderson, he's a good player.
Yeah,
of course, he's a good player.
He's
a good player, but he wouldn't be Jordan Henderson without Mane and Salah and the other fella up front. Exactly. They won Liverpool the league, and them two fullbacks flying down a wing, putting in fantastic crosses. Mm-hmm. Anyone could play in midfield for Liverpool. Anybody. You could just get somebody in there to just stand in there and win tackles and give it to those that can play. You know. But if you put them you put Jordan Henderson in the Aston Villa side last season when they were 10 games to go, they'd have got relegated.
Yep.
The difference is they didn't get relegated because they had Grealish there, and in the last game of the season he produced one little bit of magic, and it just kept them in by the skin of their teeth. Well, that wouldn't have happened if they'd have had the likes of Jordan Henderson or anybody of his ilk.
Absolutely.
It just wouldn't have happened. And that is a difference between, the other night, the difference between England and Denmark was Ericsson.
Yeah.
I just watched the game, I would just sat down and watched it for 10 minutes, and he done 2 or 3 things in 10 minutes, and you thought, if he was English, he wouldn't be on the field. That's the difference.
Absolutely.
And Don said to me the other week, he said, well, what a chance we had. They had the best chance to go through when we played Croatia in the World Cup. I said, Don, but they had Modric. We didn't.
Yeah.
If Modric was playing for England instead of Croatia, we would have beat Croatia. But it's them players that you have at international level or top quality players that get you through them games. Not the average players. The average players get you knocked out.
Yeah.
And there's these players come along. Aston Villa haven't seen a player like Jack Grealish for, they won the European Cup with lesser players than him. They had good players, Aston Villa, when they won the European Cup, but nobody was in Jack's class. Yeah. They couldn't do what he does. And now this kid is got to suffer. So going back 20 minutes, what I said, he's just got to concentrate and just keep Villa up the top of the league and just, please God, it'd be lovely if they could finish 5th or something like that and keep them up there and just say to Southgate, well, you carry on doing your job and I'll carry on doing my job. You foul, I'll be successful. And that's all I did at Stoke. I worried about where Stoke finished in the league. I helped get them into Europe when they were 4th from bottom. We played Ajax. We got knocked out by the away goal. And I couldn't give 2 monkeys about playing for England. If they don't want you, they don't want you. It's as simple as that. It's like if you fancy a girl you're seeing this girl in a pub and you fancy her and she don't want you. If she don't want you, she don't want you. Move on.
Absolutely. What a way to finish. And as we've always maintained, Uddy, real stars are rare. So till next time, pal. Cheers, Al.
Yeah, Paul. It's been a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure talking about him because it's a pleasure talking about him because it's my heart goes out to him, and he's a difference between me putting an England game on and not putting an England game. When he wasn't playing the other night, I put it on for 10 minutes to watch what they were like without him, and I thought, well, I'm right. They're no good without him. And he's a difference between me crossing the road and watching a football match, or as they say, if they were playing him in my back garden, I'll pull the curtains. And it's simple as that. But with people like Grealish in the side, you'll watch him. It's simple as that, Paul.
Spot on, Al. And My Life, My Music, Part 12 will be out this week as well, as will this podcast, My Life, Pain and Glory. And you can follow Huddy on all his social medias on Facebook. I mean, you've got loads, Huddy, on Facebook. You've got one that's official, and you've got 2 on Twitter. Alan Hudson _10 and Alan Hudson 28, and your other wonderful podcast. Your what's the you don't hold nothing back, do you? Would on that one? It's a no old podcast.
We've been very, very fortunate that we've included somebody that I didn't really know much about, John Sitton.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about John. I'd never met him. Don had never met him. We discussed it, and we introduced John because his Chelsea days, and he was a black cab driver, and we was trying to help the black cab drivers, which I've got a lot of people in my family who were cab drivers, and my nephew, young Billy, who played at Tottenham and Crewe, and he's a black cab driver now. So we said we'll help out there, and we introduced John to come and join us in the free, and it's terrific. Yesterday, I thought you were going to get up and hit me at one stage. He's very boisterous. He's got his own opinion. He won't back down from his opinion. He talks about coaching, which I don't agree with coaching. But he has his opinion, and it's good. We have that lovely. Don has his own opinion. The good thing about it is we're not like watching BBC or Sky TV. we don't all agree with each other.
Absolutely.
And we got our own views, but there's one thing we do agree on. England are not good enough. We agree that Southgate's got to go, and we agree that Jack Grealish is the best player in the country. So it's just ironical that the only thing that we do agree about is Jack Grealish.
It could be called X-rated, but it's called Uncensored. The Uncensored Football Podcast, guys.
It's good stuff.
So look out for it on YouTube and all the social media networks. So till next time, Al. Thanks, pal. Speak soon.
Thanks, pal.
Cheers, Gabbie.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.